There's an old African proverb that I've quoted on this podcast before, but it's one of my favorites. It says that if you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, go together. Today's interview is with a gentleman named Sergey Poltev, who certainly has figured out how to go far. Our conversation started with sort of a little bit of information about his business. Then turns out he's got 2 businesses. Then turns out he's got 3 businesses, all successfully running one at a time. And we learned more and more about how he started. And this guy actually overcame a tremendous amount to achieve the level of success that he has so far today. But it's really a conversation about delegating. And not just a simple, lighthearted one. It's a conversation about really the way that somebody who runs 3 businesses at once has to think in order to be peaceful and content and successful in all of those endeavors. And he certainly figured something out. So really excited to get into today's conversation. Let's get into it. Sergey, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
This is the behind the scenes is that you're the first time ever I had like enough technical difficulties on my computer that we had to reschedule, which is always embarrassing when you're on with IT guys, but I appreciate your flexibility. You are an interesting guest because you kind of run 2 businesses and both of them are relevant to the audience, but tell me a little bit about your MSP and what you're doing right now and kind of how you got into it.
Sure. So I'm kind of like your average MSP owner. I've been in business for 18 years. We're based in Ottawa, Canada. Capital Tech is my MSP. We're just around 3 million in revenue. And exactly, this is what I was doing, focusing on cybersecurity, focusing on a local community. Nothing special, except that I did start the second MSP. So I actually have 2 MSPs right now. The second brand, second flavor. I can touch base on that one as well for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when we met, it was I had 2 different emails for you, and you're actually a client of Feel Good.
Yep.
One of your MSPs is.
Yes.
So I haven't fully convinced you, apparently, to work to work with me twice. No, talk about that real quick. Like, what's going on with Heartfelt?
Yeah. So when you first started an MSP, you don't have a niche. You have a kind of like, you don't know what you sell. Everyone is your client. The second MSP, I had an idea of actually do purpose driven, and I picked a niche. I picked the niche of not-for-profit organizations across North America, and we really hit it off. So we're at about $1 million in revenue within a year and a half. And I learned a lesson. I learned the ropes on my first MSP, but now this one is really focused. And another big reason here is that, yes, we have a very good pricing strategy because not-for-profits need specific pricing and be flexible in that. And we leveraging virtual assistants and lots of offshoring in that second MSP.
So it took you 18 years to get to 3 million in your first one. And it took you a year to get to $1 million in your second one.
That's right.
Obviously, there's a bunch of assumed answers of like things that you would know, but what is the one key difference? What is the one key piece of information you feel like you had going into the second one that has contributed to it growing as fast as it has compared to the first one?
I guess taking it more seriously. I do believe that every MSP owner needs to think about enterprise value of their MSP, not just treating it as a piggy bank, So just having that mission figured out, vision, and really start focusing on sales and marketing first, and then technical part after. I don't even have my PSA access tool to that second MSP. I'm really focusing on growth and real vision. So I don't want to waste my time. It's almost like I've learned all the lessons from a first MSP, and I'm avoiding all the mistakes that I made in my first MSP to get a second one.
Yeah. Of course, you're saying you don't have PSA access, meaning you don't even log into the PSA to do any of the technical work at all. You're only doing growth and working on it.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And is your first MSP growing as fast now as the second MSP?
Yeah, so now we are learning and repositioning everything into that. So my first MSP has more potential, has its larger clients, and it's like growth. You have a growth stocks, and that's really, I'm building it to exit for millions of dollars. Where the second one is really the purpose right now. And I really put my heart in it. In fact, it's called Heartfelt IT. It's interesting. But yes, absolutely. So the second one is now growing faster too, especially after the sales training I've done.
Good. Shameless plug. Anyway, yes. No, I'm being silly, but there's so many things I want to talk to you about right now, Sergey, because you also have a third company, which is not an MSP. Right?
Yes, so correct.
Tell me about the third company.
Yes.
We're still turning all the puzzle pieces right side up on you. And then we're going to get into more of the details. So what is the other thing you do?
Absolutely. So I've always been interested about offshoring. I never had time. I actually had a little, I've been overworked. In my first MSP, one of the reasons why I worked so slow, because I didn't really delegate anything. I was trying to do everything myself. Actually got into challenges, gained lots of weight, got through divorce. There's so much work because I was just like in my day-to-day in the tickets and servicing my clients. And I never really understood that the real goal of an entrepreneur is really focusing on your team and building your team as opposed to serving your clients. If you take care of your team will take care of your clients. Your clients will take care of your business will take care of you. It's a different circle in a way. That's why it took me too long to figure all this out. So, and I realized that it's not about actual clients. Really what happened, I remember that moment when I was selling voice over IP. Many MSPs sell voice over IP. And I was sitting in front of a business owner in the boardroom showing the new phone system. And I was explaining, that was about 6 years ago. And he said, Sergey, I don't need phone system. I need phones answered. So he said that I need people to answer the phones. And I thought, okay, wait a minute. If I give you the people and he will buy the phone system and everything is going to make sense, right? So this is where the idea came in. And I remember at that time, I actually traveled to Philippines because I was doing a project for one of my clients as an MSP, as a tech guy, to set up offshore operation for them. And it was before pandemic. And when I went to Philippines, I like, wow, it was like life changing because different culture. And then I saw, logos of TELUS, which is a telecom company, big in Canada. They're like AT&T of Canada. Okay. And I'm a customer of TELUS. So like, wait a minute, what is this company doing here? And then I started doing a little research and I started learning about BPOs and thought, wow, why is big companies using offshoring and not small companies, small businesses, including myself? And then I started digging into the history. So, and then we started hiring in the Philippines. I actually went to Philippines again, started my business there, like official company, sort of like a BPO, but really we're employer of record. We helping finding good talent and retaining this talent. So first it started all for us. Like I was building my own team. And of course, I made lots of mistakes. I've hired the wrong people. I didn't know how to recruit. I made tons of mistakes. And that's another reason why it took us so long to build the first MSP. So my second MSP, then I thought like, okay, I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to build the entire MSP out of offshore workers and improve like as an experiment to see if it's going to work. And that's the rest is history. So right now we have this company, VA Desk, because it's interesting because we're in the business of selling seats, right, to our clients, essentially. We charge per seat. And we started offering people who needs our services as well. So essentially, imagine we have a client, construction company, and they need 2 administrators, meaning that we are also providing the staffing. So we started offering the virtual assistants to really our clients. And then we realized that MSPs actually also need that type of help. And now I'm really trying to help more MSPs to do the same what I've done.
Right. So for those just tuning in, starts an MSP, gets it to a few $1 million, starts a second MSP off of all the lessons, got it to $1 million in a year and a half, right?
Yeah.
How long have you been running the VA business again?
The VA business now officially for public, like for it's just a year and a half. So it's just still small. But I've actually I use the actual virtual assistants for my own business for over 5 years now.
So you've got the network and the talent pool and all that stuff. Like you have all that infrastructure already in place, and you were already set up over there as an employer of record.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Absolutely. So we provide technology, all the computer security, and that's what businesses need nowadays. The internet is very fast nowadays, but we've learned what actual employees need because we need a good talent. There are actually companies like Amazon and Facebook. They're there. So how do we compete with those employers? So we learned, okay, you're going to need to have this amount of benefits. You need this type of salary. And we just basically offered the same thing and start poaching people from those companies because it's a huge labor pool. There's 170,000 new graduates every year in the Philippines. It's a big number. And I do believe you need to build a team in order to operate, especially if you're a business owner. And I recommend to start with the EA. And what I like about you, that you're actually leveraging executive assistants. And I'm curious from listeners, like how many MSPs and business owners are actually leveraging and using an executive assistant themselves?
Well, this is what I want to go into. So first of all, your brain moves 1,000 miles a minute. And, you've got all this information in you because you've got this flywheel effect of your businesses. But I want to go all the way back to something that you said several minutes ago. We don't got to get into therapy here, but you mentioned the first business was really hard on your relationships, hard on your physical health.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that. So what was different? I don't just mean now you have an assistant and then you didn't. What was different about you as a person, sort of pre-transformation, when you're going through that, when you're really in the thick of it? What was it? And what was the light bulb moment for you when you realized something needs to change here?
Absolutely. I studied computer science. As many MSP owners they're technical in nature, right? So in fact, I studied one of the best computer science back in Russia. So very technical, not much business savvy. So I was deep into that technical mindset, E-Myth revisited, right? So I was really trying to focus on me helping clients, and people liked me, and I like that, and so in the beginning, you start with a couple of clients, but then eventually you have 100 customers and they all want a piece of Sergey, right? Yeah. They all want me. They trust me. They don't trust my team yet. I didn't build it that way. I don't know why, because I didn't have the delegation skills. I didn't have anything. I was just technical in nature, right? Nobody.
And you were the business. You were the face of the business. You were the voice of the business. You were everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So now imagine now I stayed late at work. I didn't come until 9-10 p.m. to home to see my wife. I didn't exercise. Obviously, I didn't put myself first. I really put my clients first. I don't know what it was. That's where the shifts start happening. I remember how I was telling you about the building a team and thinking, okay, how do I clone myself? How do I create a culture? We all went through, I'm now running on EOS. We understand all the importance of building a team. And, but I don't think people can actually afford to build a team in the beginning. And that's where I think they need a little bit of help with that.
Yeah.
So that's where the shifts happened.
Yeah, there's that gap, right? Where you're like, well, I need more people to be able to do more work, but I can't afford the people until I can get the work to pay them. And there's that gap. And a lot of people are stuck there for a long time, or they're crawling, they're inching their way through that transition.
Yes.
I mean, you could say the same for Feel Good MSP, really. The first few years I was a consultant, and it was it's still very much the Brian show because I'm literally performing right now. I'm literally on a podcast right now with my big dumb face on the graphic of the podcast. That's the nature of my business. But it took me a long time actually to really learn how to build a team and use a team. And in many ways, I feel like I still don't know anything about anything really. But you said something about you wanted to clone yourself. And I want to think about that. I want to talk about that a little bit because that verbiage for me was as the most destructive way to think about growing my team. How do I get more Brians? Here's the truth that I found for myself. Nobody needs any more Brian. There's too much Brian. I have all of these edges and limitations. Do you know what I mean? It's like, have you seen any of the animations? There's this great graphic where it talks about training LLMs, and it's a human, and he paints three boards of a fence and half of another board, and he hands it to the robot, and the robot does 3, 3, 3 half, 3, 3, 3 half, 3, 3, 3 half.
Yeah.
And there's something about, if you're really trying to get more yous running around, all you're going to do is exaggerate your own weaknesses. And then you're going to exploit, and then that is an ego building machine where you end up in this echo chamber where people don't tell you the truth, and where you don't know what you're bad at, and that's when people get angrier and angrier, and like you start to have temper issues because you actually lower your tolerance for the ability to be like wrong or confronted or to collaborate. My mindset for me helped me when instead of trying to think, how do I get a second Brian? Like, how do I get another person who's better at that than me? And I think that's what you mean. But in the early days when you're going, well, there's not enough Sergey to go around. You need more bodies. And that's why I think most people who try their first VA or their first EA, it's not always successful, is it?
Oh, no, absolutely. People make all kinds of mistakes. They don't know how to delegate. That's another issue. Hiring a VA is easy. You can go to Upwork, you can go online jobs.ph, there's so many those VA companies, and it's like you can get somebody starting tomorrow, and then you're not gonna, delegate properly. Yeah. I also find that, yes, I did made mistake. I did hire somebody similar to me. Now, of course, I think the secrets of running MSPs is finding a good operator first, obviously. Yes. Like I have 2 operators for each MSP. And that's why I don't have to be in the weeds of running the operation side. Yeah. But you know what I learned recently? And Paul Green, Paul, obviously he's been here on the pod, and he's a legend. Hi, Paul. He said that one thing I remember on his podcast, one of his things, you should only do what only you should do. Yeah. So, and that means that when I start delegating, I start learning, okay, first of all, yes, you can outsource and get people to do a lot of things for you, but what are you going to do? What Sergey is going to do now? And I think, like for me right now, what I'm doing is something that, like for instance, creating content. Like my voice, I cannot outsource that. I cannot just get my VA write a content for me. This something needs to come from me. Yeah. And things like I know you asked me to talk maybe a little later about my experience doing comedy, learning comedy. I would never in my life would find time and do something like this if I would be doing other things. And I would not outsource somebody on my team do comedy. I need to do comedy. I need to practice my skills. Yeah.
I want to get technical. I want to get specific here though, because you this is your world and you're in this all the time. But a lot of listeners might be stuck somewhere in the journey, or they're like, they want a VA, or they keep firing VAs, or they have a VA, but it's not, they're like, I don't feel like I'm any better. Can you paint some specific pictures? What are even some examples of what it looks like to be a bad delegator, or to have a VA that you're really underutilizing? Like, do you have any specific examples you see, horror stories of when you place a VA and the VA is like, the guy, like this isn't working? What does that look like?
Absolutely. No, 100%. Well, there's so many mistakes actually. Well, a very common one is just simply not knowing how to effectively delegate. And what I mean by that is just how to tell people what to do instead of giving them tasks. Like, hey, today you need to do this. You need to delegate by outcome, right? So by actually result. For me, the results is the most important thing. And you just say, you need to show them the picture, what the good looks like. And because they're humans, they're not just the robots. They're going to figure it out. You just need to give them tools. It's who, not how, right? They can even figure out who to contact to get things done. And at the end of the day, it's not the process, it's just the outcome. That's the first thing I would say. Another thing is it really starts with defining the right person. And it's not about tasks, it's about finding that candidate. as I said, there's a huge pool of workers, much bigger than in the US in terms of the quality, because the standards are different in Asia than in North America. And especially on customer service. That's why you see Filipino workers working in a hotel, restaurants, customer service, So I would start with a job description. Many people just start with, don't write proper job descriptions. They don't put their values of their company. They just say here, looking for person and this. No, I think the good quality job description will find you the right candidate, because you're going to sift through so many people and you will connect to them. Instead, people go into finding specific person, like let's say on onlinejobs.ph, you specifically picking that person. They need to pick you, not you need to pick them, essentially.
Yeah, right. And like the task versus outcome thing, I think that's really gold. That's something I struggled with in some ways, or when I first started and I started having team members, when I started, it was like me for 12 or 13 hours. Like, I have to figure out how to do this. I have to figure out how to do this. And so I'm a systems guy. So I'm like inventing, this is how I would do this for every task. And then I hire a director of operations. And I'm like, we need this. It should be done like this. And she'd go, sounds like you've got a pretty clear vision of how you want to do that. Why don't you own that task? And I go, no, I need you to do it. She goes, well, you just told me exactly how to do it. I don't think you need me. She was pushing back on me to show me this is not helpful to you or me. And I started going, no. It wasn't because I was trying to be controlling. I was just ignorant to how to actually equip somebody to do their job. And the truth is, you need to hire excellent people and then get the hell out of their way and let them do their job. I say, this is what I expect from you. These are the parameters. These are the rules. You can't do this. You can't do that. Give them boundaries, but don't determine what's inside of the playpen. Just tell them the edges of where the playpen is and then let them play. And if they're giving you substandard things, you have to say, I would prefer that this was like this and this is the difference. And show them the delta between what they're bringing you and what you expect. Show them specifically, and then say, do you understand, what resources do you need from me in order to achieve that?
Exactly. Yeah. Touching base on the resources is very important, because we've actually done a little bit of study. If you don't provide resources or, let's say, AI tools to your VA, their output would be maybe 30 hours a week. Where if you give that, it's going to be, if you give all the subscriptions or the softwares and all the different courses, we enable them to do their job better. Their output gets close to 100 hours a week. So wow. It's fantastic. Oh yeah, absolutely. So lots of people are saying, I don't need a VA, I need AI. No, I would say you need AI to give to VA.
Yeah, you need a VA using AI.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, I like that, man. So, okay, you were in a spot before. I'm going to go back to your story. You were working long days. You're not exercising, and you hit some series of rock bottoms, probably, or some series of revelations where you went, "This isn't working for me." Mm-hmm. You started bringing in help. What started changing in the business, and what started changing in your personal life when that started to click of how to truly actually get help?
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess this is the classic story of, when you need to fail to succeed. And you certainly had some of the guests on the podcast saying the same thing. For me, it was when it came down to the divorce with my wife, and then losing the house. And me as an immigrant coming from Russia, this is all I really wanted. It was my dream. I wanted to have a beautiful house, beautiful wife, So basically, and I lost pretty much everything, and I had to start rebuilding and start exercise, start thinking about okay, what am I going to do? And admitting that I'm not good at delegation. I'm not good at time management. Everything started when I hired executive assistant. So I read about, as you know, Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time. He talks about the first person you need to hire is executive assistant. It's a special role because it's more like it's not a specific task. It's like a general role, but you share your goals with them and they will help you get there. They will find other people to achieve those goals with you. And so I remember when I stopped using, say, PSA tool, I realized that I spend most of my time there. Then it's talking about time study. And I highly recommend to do time study. It's really documenting what you do every single day. If you're on the computer all day, there's a bunch of softwares. One of them is called MemTime, and it'll give you the report of how your time went. And you'll be amazed where your actually time is going. And then you really find the gaps where you can improve. You just need to find what are you going to spend time on. And that's another thing. People, when they get lots of time, what are they going to do? They waste it. It's like winning the lottery here. All of a sudden you get lots of money. What are you going to do? You're going to waste it if you don't know what to do. So I think it's important to understand. I remember I did a 4,000 weeks exercise, which is essentially life expectancy in North America. It's about 4,000 weeks. And you can go to 4kweeks.com, find how many weeks you have left, how many weekends you have left. Life is short, man. Like it actually tells you, it gives you that perspective. Like, oh my goodness, so what am I going to do with my time? And of course, health. I think this is, we need to put, you had a guy on your podcast who was talking about this. And for me, start exercising. Yeah, it's really helps me develop that discipline every single day. So yeah, I don't know if it helps understanding what was going on in my head at that time.
Yeah. And then you lose everything. You lost everything. But you still had your business.
No,
right?
Here's another thing. While I was going through divorce, I was like in a bad position. And at that time, I was planning to partner with another company, voice over IP company. And they approached me, says, Sergey, you do IT, we do VoIP, we have lots of clients. It's a good idea. Let's partner up. Let's actually merge. I said, sure. And I was down at that time. They got me in the lowest time. And that deal didn't work out. It's basically took half of my clients, half of my business gone as well. And then there was really, I just had enough money just to survive at that point, so and I had to rebuild again. So yes, in a way I did lost everything.
How did you get out? What the heck did you do? I know that's probably a big question, but what are the 2 or 3 key decisions that you made or actions that you took when in that moment to rebuild and not just give up?
Yeah. And I know many people giving up at that situation. I'm actually part of the men's mental health support group, and different guys sharing different stories of their failures. What helped me really at the end of the day is building that discipline, learning that I don't have much time and I need to start from scratch. But learning, I became a better person, learning of the things that happened to me. I almost needed to fail to learn a lesson. So really exercising, prioritizing my time on sales and marketing on my business, because I knew that I needed better customers. I needed new customers because I lost most of them right now, and now I have to rebuild.
Yeah.
When I came to Canada from Russia, I didn't have anything. I didn't speak good language, and I remember at that time, I went door to door selling IT services. That's how I started as an MSP. And so essentially, I started the same, but instead of going door to door, I now started doing cold calling. Start doing mailing campaigns, things like that. I just had that determination and really big desire to rebuild.
Yeah.
And focusing on the sales part, not on the technical part. I remember I had an opportunity to talk to Robert Herjavec. You know him, right?
Yeah, I know. I don't know him, but I know who he is. Yeah. Yeah.
So he's one of my favorite sharks, and he's also an immigrant who came to America with nothing. And he's basically built one of the biggest MSPs, right? And so he was my role model. And I didn't tell you part of my story is that I lost my father when I was 10 years old. And I always looked for a role model in my life, like a father figure in a way. Robert was one of those. I had many fathers after that, that I was looking after. So Robert, I remember I was at the MSP event where he was a speaker. And I had a chance to speak with him. It was just wow, like something out of ordinary. And he said, Sergey, you're looking at your business as a small business. You need to start thinking globally. You need to go outside of Ottawa, Canada, to start thinking about North American and type of clients and all of that. And that's the only advice he gave me. And I'm wow, how do I do that? So he inspired me to think much bigger, so, and that's really pushed me to that edge when I started doing offshoring and really thinking like, wow, I can scale this business. I know how big companies do it. And again, I always looked at the role models. One of the things I learned from growing up in Russia, we didn't have much growing up, but we had an old VHS player and we only had a couple of cassettes. And one of them, video cassette, one of the movies we had is a movie called The Edge. I don't know if you watched it's when
Is that the one with the bear?
Yes. And I didn't imagine me, Russian boy, didn't speak good English, watching the video in English, trying to mimic some words. And my favorite phrase of that movie was, what one man can do, another can do, because I remember that they both lost in the woods and they needed to kill the bear. And one man was completely scared. Another one, he knows that one man actually was able to kill the bear. And he had that belief. And he says, if one man can do it, another can do it too. And this is where I start thinking, if Robert Herjavec can do it, I can do it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that this is what really inspired me. And that's why I like the community. We see so many good examples of MSP owners. And you can just go and talk to them. This is one of the best communities. That's why I want to continue working with MSPs and being in that channel. And so just ScaleCon, like it's just such an amazing community. Shout out to Nigel Moore and Tahir.
Yeah.
So anyway,
man,
this helps.
It super helps. Yeah, it super helps, of course. And the inspiring thing about the story, obviously, this is a hugely inspiring story, man. Like, hey, this awful thing. All of these awful things in a row happened. Most of them out of your control. Some of them totally your fault, and some of them not your fault at all. And then you made this decision. It's something I've noticed about you, Sergey, because we spoke back in April when we were talking about foundations.
That's right.
And I remember leaving that call being like, wow, like what a very open man. And I mean open, like your heart is open, your ears are open, your eyes are open, you're receptive to the world. And I talked to a lot of technical guys who are like this in more ways than one. Their arms are crossed and they're closed. They're closed off to the world, to conversation, to ideas, to pain, to love, to everything. They're closed. They're tight. They're scared, or whatever. And when you meet somebody I don't just mean like somebody who's charismatic, but somebody who's seen and present, it stuck with me. And then you had this company called Heartfelt, and I was like, oh, this guy's like got a real EQ of some kind. Like this is obviously some area that's important to him. And this is the longest conversation we've ever had. Maybe the second or third conversation we've ever had, right? Like maybe fourth.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, we spoke for a few minutes when you joined Foundations, of course. And then we spoke for a couple of minutes last week when we were supposed to record, and then my computer acted weird. But this is something I'm noticing about you, and I'm sure it's directly related to a lot of the success you have found. And you've got more than one company that's working, and that's really interesting. And if we had more time, if we have a lot more time, we'll talk about that. How do you manage more than one business, and how do you do it without it becoming shiny object syndrome, and and all of that.
Well, one of the things I was going to say, and I listened to your podcast and I really relate to some of the many messages. I'm also part of the True Peer community, and I'm a captain there of my pod. And really, at the end of the day, focus of every MSP should be really focusing on increasing enterprise value of their business, right? Uh-huh. And they keep forgetting that, because they're thinking, oh, I need to go and I need to vibe code my PSA tool, or other things. So this comes down to what you should be focusing on. And okay, my enterprise value, it's EBITDA and all of that. You need to learn those things. But then at the end of the day, you need to focus on growth and key connections and be disciplined. I remember in one of the episodes that you said that how much 1 hour of MSP owner's time worth. And we can calculate that. I don't know if you remember the formula, but it's basically, if you focus on just adding 1 seat a day one managed seat a day. How much is one seat worth to you if you charge, let's say, $175 per seat per month based on the agreement? We can actually calculate. And that's the minimum, right? So it's like a minimum. And if you're just wasting your time, it just doesn't make sense anymore. Like, I don't want to waste my time anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why I want to build my team and focus my own time on things that I cannot delegate to anyone else. Only I can do it. And so only I can go and meet with the Robert Herzog.
Yeah. Only you can be on this podcast right now. Like,
absolutely.
Your VA was not invited onto this podcast. You were invited.
No.
The thing that I'm drawn to, though, I'm stuck on this story because here's one of my observations. We just dropped like our 50th episode, and I think we're recording now number 54 or 55, something like that. I don't remember. Somewhere in the 50s. That's not a ton, but this is a lot of these conversations I'm having now, you know? And there's this through line that you find with anybody who is succeeding at all in sales is that the people who figure out sales, it's not just like the good-looking extroverted people. It's not like you're born a salesperson, but you're forged as a salesperson. And I think that it's people who decided to take control over what they could control in their own journey. Like, people who are in sales are very drawn to control.
Yeah.
You know, like, people who are entrepreneurs are also very drawn to control. You'd rather make no money and not have a boss. You want to be in control of your life. It's obviously a motivator to you. But developing a sales acumen, sales process, sales motion, sales department is nothing else. What is it if not creating control over the future of your future success?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
You know, I understand. You know, the book by Jacko basically says discipline is freedom.
Yeah.
Right? So think about that, right? So it's like most people say, oh, no, discipline is like torture. No, you can create freedom if you be disciplined and start doing certain things. And sales is not hard. I also been afraid of sales. That's why it took me 18 years. I'm that living example. But after listening to you and others, it's not, you know, what you're saying is not something new. Like, it's just you just saying it differently. I remember I was just re-listening episode 23 when you're talking about sales foundation and really sales is sorting. Oh, you know, sales is sorting. What is that? Well, it's really understanding, having a conversation and sort them into one. It's like almost like, you know, it's easy. And you start building this skill, starting with sorting. How do you communicate? The amount of time that you have on your phone or in an elevator with somebody, it's so important. And that they're not enemies. They're actually your allies, the people on the phone. Like, when you're on the stage, I remember when I went through a comedy course, you only given specific amount of time on the stage. Otherwise, and then you boot it out and you have specific amount of time to get your message. And that was an amazing experience. It's the same. So I'm training right now to build that acumen. And that's important to me because I know that if I can do this with MSP, and MSP is not easy. MSP is such a complex business. Like, I wish I knew that when I was a kid. I would go to a different type of business. So, but we already got into this, so I might as well be good at this. And if I can do this, I can do sales for any other business.
Yeah, it's true. It's a very complicated sale, and traditionally one where you don't make as much money as much easier sales, like in software. To be honest, they're simpler sales with more resources and bigger commission checks. But yeah, let's talk about comedy for a minute. So I saw this the other day on LinkedIn. Our mutual buddy Mike, who by the way wears a bracelet that says "Discipline equals freedom" every day.
Oh,
he wears one of those little Livestrong bracelets, or whatever you call those rubber ones. You know. I saw a comment on Mike's post of a picture of you at an open mic.
Yeah.
So, and then I commented and Mike commented. So you did a little bit of open mic stand-up for a little bit. Where was that? Yes. Tell me the story.
No, Ottawa, Canada. We have one of the we have Absolute Comedy. It's one of the franchise for, I think they're all over Canada as well. A very good, popular place. I used to be there when I came from Russia and to Ottawa. I visited that. I was like, I had no idea why they're laughing. I didn't understand that yet. So anyway, 20 years later, I actually took the course. So there was a course you can actually take the course, and it's like so inexpensive. I think I paid $150 Canadian for that. And it was a 6-week course on how to introduction to stand-up comedy. And I'm like, wow. And what drove me to do this is that the challenge, because the final exam is to perform live on stage in front of live audience, 150 people. You don't know most of them.
Big audience.
Big audience. And you only have 6 minutes max. Like you cannot do more. There's the lights, there's whole system there when you're standing. And so every week you meet in the class and you write your jokes and you practice in front of class and you come back and a week later and you do again and you do again and do again. It actually teaches you how to build that message. Practice. You assign the body and you practice together between classes. So it's a very good experience. Highly recommend for every MSP owner to do this. Yeah, and I loved it. Anyway, it was just such a big thrill of the lifetime. I don't know if you haven't done it yet, it's hard to feel it, but I can describe it because if imagine 150 people laughing at the same time, you can feel it in the air.
Yeah.
Like it's addictive, actually. It's actually pretty cool. Like, and I thought I'm going to fail, but it was amazing. Everybody laughed at my jokes and it was funny. In fact, people asking me, Sergey, when are you going to do more? When are you going to do again? And I'm certainly challenged. The only thing I don't like about stand-up comedy is it's typically late at night. It's a late night show. And I need to be disciplined getting up in the morning to work out. So, but I'm definitely going to do more, and it's super cool experience.
The fact, like, if you're sitting here going, I got to build my MSP, I'm at the end of my rope, I don't know what to do, I've tried all the other stuff. Have you ever tried a stand-up comedy set? Because now you have one more idea that you can try that will certainly help you in life. I mean, performing in general is very good life experience. So I've done stand-up, Sergey, but I wasn't a stand-up comic. I did stand-up. I used to host events in Hollywood, and I hosted at a jazz club for a few months called the E Spot Lounge. So there's a drummer named Sheila E, who is a pretty famous drummer. Her dad was a very famous drummer, and she like put her name on this jazz club upstairs of an Italian restaurant in Studio City. And I used to go and host these shows, and they wanted me to introduce the act and stuff like that. So I just started going up and doing jokes. No, I didn't ask if I could do jokes. They told me not to do jokes a couple times, and I just kept doing it anyway. And I would start with like a joke. I'm like, let me just try a joke. And I've always been more of an off the cuff guy than like a overly prepared guy with public speaking. But of course, like if you're trying to be funny, you have to have something funny. You have to have an actual joke. You can't just like say a silly voice or have weird energy. You have to have actual jokes that work, and they work for a reason, and the way you deliver it's important. And yeah, I mean, I remember the first time I bombed. I'm not even going to tell you what the joke was because it didn't work. But in my head, it was like, I think this is going to be funny. And it was the hardest I had ever thought about one ahead of time. And I went up and it died. Absolutely no energy at all. And by the way, 6 minutes sounds short. 6 minutes is not short.
It is.
You've got dead air. It's an eternity.
Yes.
That's a very long time to be not funny. You know, you've got to be 6 minutes is agony, and also takes months of work usually to get 6 good minutes of material, you know? Anyway, I went up and I bombed, and then I walked off the stage, and I honestly had this moment. I was walking by the main act's green room, and their door was open. So there was this full wall mirror, you know, and they're like vanity. And I saw myself in the mirror, and I kind of looked through the doorway, and I went, that's it? That's all bombing is? That wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. Yeah. Because we've all bombed. We've all bombed at a dinner table, or you do an impression at a dinner party and it doesn't laugh, and everybody just moves on because it wasn't funny, or somebody else had a joke and you throw a tag in, at the conversation, and it didn't need it and nobody regards it. we've all done that 100 times. That's all bombing is. It's just that every single person in the room collectively is not laughing at the only thing being said in the room, you know? But then once you realize, oh my God, bombing is actually, it's really not that big of a deal. Then I think you're really addicted to it.
And that's another thing. I remember another piece, rejection handling, because sales is all about rejection. You know, hackling or not being funny. It's in the form is rejection. I read the book called 100 Days of Rejection, Rejection Proof, by an Asian American immigrant who came to, and he was rejected all the time, and he figured out the way how to fix this rejection problem. And this really helped me. I don't know if it can help other MSPs, but really try to get rejected on purpose, you know? So it's almost like this was another opportunity for me to get rejected. I actually went through a whole experiment. I want to get rejected. When we're on the call, we're trying to get rejected. Instead of getting appointments, try to get a goal of being rejected multiple times per day, and you'll get really good at this. And you learn that it's not actually that bad if you get rejected. It's actually a good thing.
Yeah.
It gets you more, you're going to become the palm, not the oak tree. It's your analogy. I learned it from you.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Become the palm instead of the oak. Yes. Yeah, of course. It's an invaluable skill, and one that you had to. I wish we had an hour to talk about what it's like coming to Canada speaking only Russian. Or did you speak other languages too, that just not English?
No, just Russian. And I did spoke a little bit of English, but it's
just
not,
from watching
not
The
much.
Edge. You knew
watching The
what one
Edge
man can
and
do,
Friends.
another can do also.
Friends. I watched Friends. Friends was my English teacher. I had to watch all the episodes.
I love it. So you just walk around and like, could it be any colder all the time? Just
yeah.
Sarcastic.
How you doing?
Exactly. Oh my God, that's so funny. No, you know what? I want us to drill in one more time. We only have a few more minutes, but I want to drill in on a VA thing here.
Yeah.
So MSP wants to start outsourcing. They want to start leveraging more team members, and maybe they're employees, on-site employees, or maybe they're virtual employees or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, if somebody is like, I would love a VA, I like the idea, but I'm intimidated to start, or I don't want to hire the wrong person, or it's like I haven't done it yet. Give us some tactical stuff. Like, there's resources. You mentioned a bunch of those websites. They could go to a website, but like, what do you do right now to start going and sourcing virtual talent that will solve a problem for your business? Mm-hmm. Like, what do you do?
Sure. First, you need to really make that mentality that you do need to take care of the people rather than finding the cheapest talent. I see this often in offshoring, people looking for, cheapest, saving money. But really, the reality is cheap talent equals cheap results. And you do need to invest in the better quality talent. People looking for stability, they are humans. They need the same things. In Asia, in Philippines, and specifically, they have different needs. They have issues with housing. So the healthcare life expectancy in Asia is different than in US, for instance, right? It's not the 4,000 weeks; it's probably 3,000 weeks.
In the Philippines, yeah. In some countries, it's much higher than ours, but in the Philippines, yeah,
it's lower. It's lower. It's like 60. Anyway, you can look it up. Really understanding that person, you need to develop the person. You need to take care of the team member. So, and it comes down to both, statewide employees versus offshore employees. But offshore employees, they cost less, but they also humans. You still need to take care of them. So you need to really ask them what their goal is. Like, you do need to understand you need to make sure that they're working for you for a long time. Like the retention is very important. I think the most expensive thing that any business owners can do is hiring the wrong talent. Really, they're focusing on the right one and giving them the things that they're looking for. That's important. Job description is number one, but also once you get somebody, trying to understand what do they want, and then many of them just really in Asia, they're really looking for the stability. Like, that there's lots of typhoons in Philippines, and basically a house you can hear from the news, they get wiped off, but the government actually can pay. It's not sort of like insurance. They can actually pay for rebuilding the house, but only if this person pays certain, like they have a proper job. They cannot, if they work for Uber they have the company called Grab. It's like more, it's the same thing, but they're considered to be solo, self-employed or 1099 kind of contractors versus W-2. So I do think this is a big shift to understanding that you need to give your employee and treat them as employees, treat them as part of your team, not just as a temporary workers, and prioritize that longevity. Just a mindset shift, I think it needs to be done. And obviously the looking for a good role, align them with their core values because they need to fit into your core values. That's what makes your company different than other MSP, is that core values. We all use the same tools, but how do we going to differentiate with our core values and our people? So essentially, like how many security providers out there? How are we going to differentiate? So, and that's important. Many people don't put the values in their job descriptions, like in how they're different, and because you need to find the person that matches that. So recruitment is huge. If you hire the wrong person, it's costing you a lot of money. There's a study on, like, you can actually find a calculation of a wrong hire. It's the tens and thousands of dollars cost if you hire the wrong person. So really take your time hiring. Don't hire somebody super quick.
I like that. This is great, man. We've covered a lot. I feel like there's more doors we could open, but
I can come back.
We can always come back. Exactly. And, we'll link up at ScaleCon too and talk further. But I want to make sure that if anybody wants to learn more about what you're doing with VA stuff, or if anybody wants to be in contact with you, you're a very open guy. You love networking with other MSPs. If anybody wants to be in contact with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Sure. Just find me on LinkedIn, Sergey Poltev. I have my personal website, sergeypoltev.com, where you can learn more about me, my business. I'm putting myself as a cybersecurity expert. I'm still MSP owner. But my website and new business, it's called myvadesk.com. It's the myvadesk.com is the website where you can just book an appointment with me to learn more how you can start leveraging virtual assistants and offshoring.
Amazing. Sergey, thank you so much for giving me an hour at the end of the day on Friday, man. It was really great to connect.
Awesome. I had fun. Thank you so much.